So I'm Jacob. I'm a PhD student at the Centre for Climate Repair in the University of Cambridge, and I'm looking at whether we can thicken ice in the Arctic by pumping water from underneath the ice onto the surface and letting it flow over the surface. So the sea ice in the Arctic has reduced by 50% by area in the last 40 years since records began in 1980, but it's reduced by almost 70% in volume. So the thickness has also massively reduced. And when the ice is thinner, then it's more susceptible to melting the next year. And that's the problem that my PhD is trying to address, the loss of Arctic sea ice, which has implications for the global climate system, weather in the Northern Hemisphere, the jet stream, and lots of other effects. So there's kind of two streams, I would say, of thickening Arctic sea ice. So the idea in both is take seawater from below the ice and pump it over the surface. So usually in the winter, the ice is insulating. So as the ice grows thicker, it's more insulating. It takes longer for new ice to form on the bottom. So new ice grows downwards where it's in contact with the sea. If you pump water through the ice, then expose it to the surface, it should hopefully freeze faster, freeze the ice thicker. And if you can keep the ice maintained for a longer time with thicker ice, then it reflects more sunlight back in space. The Arctic absorbs less sunlight, and that keeps the whole region cooler, which then promotes more growth the next year. So the two streams are what I would say are ice flooding, so water flowing over a surface of pure ice or only ice, or snow flooding, where you're actually flooding the snow layer and therefore turning the snow and water that you've put on top into ice. And the snow is even more insulating than the ice. So if you can eliminate the snow by refreezing it into ice, then that means that you enhance the growth on the bottom of the ice. It was, I would say, inspirational and brutal at the same time. It was amazing to see us all collaborating and actually going out and doing the first experiments really that anyone's done on thickening sea ice. And we spoke to local people who are really interested in what we were doing, and who were telling us stories of how the loss of sea ice has affected their lives, how they're struggling with the shorter amount of time that the ice is present for caribou migration and for them traveling. But at the same time, we got down to nearly minus 50 degrees C at some point. So it was very, very cold, and that takes its toll on both the people and the equipment. Absolutely. So yeah, we're trying as hard as possible to engage with local communities, both to gain their knowledge and also to see whether they think it's a good idea and whether it's something they want. And that might be, regionally, it might be hamlet by hamlet of whether they think this is a good idea and whether they want us to go and do that. And that's our main community engagement. But also some of the local knowledge, even just from talking briefly to people, of where the thinnest areas of ice are and where is most useful to them. If we wanted to do a local application to help a local community, where do they need the ice to be thickened, or where do the caribou migrate, and therefore where does the ice need to be thickened so that the caribou can continue to migrate? And it's that kind of knowledge that is really important to us if we're looking at a local implementation of the scheme to help local communities. The next step is to continue with lab experiments moving through into the spring and the summer, because I can go into a cold room and do experiments there and model the temperatures and figure out whether we can actually make a big difference or whether it's not going to work as well as we hope it will. But the real next steps are then bigger field experiments, bigger field trials, a more measurable effect on the Arctic or on a region specifically with big field trials. I think is the next big step. Well, I'm an engineer by background, so I did my master's and undergraduate in engineering. I'm now a PhD student in engineering, and I really wanted to make a difference on climate change. And I was looking for projects that I thought could make a big difference, not just a small project somewhere or something. A lot of things I looked at didn't look like they actually wanted to make a difference. There's a bit more greenwashing, and I saw a project on ice thickening, and I thought this is somewhere that I can really like there can really be a massive difference if we can protect the Arctic, if we can restore the sea ice, then that can help to keep the Earth cooler and also to prevent some of the worst effects of climate change, or at least slow them down. So I thought I was really inspired by just the impact that is possible from the project.